Hey everyone, welcome to Pixel Pathfinder, where we're on a journey to find the best indie games. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button for more great indie games coverage here on the channel. In this video, we are checking out the Steam's Game Festival. This is the Play What's Next festival in February, which showcases upcoming games for 2021. In this specific video, we're going to be checking out the games under the simulation genre tag on their page here, and I'm going to be making some recommendations for games that I thought stood out and looked pretty interesting. In this video, when it comes to simulation, there's a lot of genre overlap, and I'm going to be focusing on games that actually provide you that simulated experience of getting to manage things or be in a situation where the core aspect of the game is the simulated experience, and it's not just a tag that's tacked on there because you can collect things or you're playing as a character that you wouldn't normally play as. So we're going to put emphasis on that management and true simulation as a core gameplay mechanic aspect of these games as we go through. So we're going to kick things off with a game called Reshaping Mars. Reshaping Mars made the list because it's a colony simulation that allows you to kind of experience what it might be like to colonize Mars. This game is a base building RTS 4X game, and it looks a lot like Civilization at first glance, but instead it is set in Mars. This is definitely the kind of game that I would probably pass on because I'm not overly crazy about the sci-fi genre as a whole, but if you're into the sci-fi genre, you're really interested in Mars, and you like this sort of colony management, this would probably be a pretty good game for you to check out. Next, we have another game set in space. This is Space Mechanic Simulator. So in this game, you are a space mechanic, and the focus of the game is on repairing space stations and shuttles. The game adopts a first-person view, and you're going to go through here and, just repair various space stations. The goal here is for you to see what it's like to be an astronaut. You have to actually float out into space, tethered to your airship, and it has some pretty intricate-looking areas of the ship that you're going to be exploring and repairing. So it really does look like it plays up that simulation aspect of being a mechanic, where you actually have to get in and mess with these complex components in order to repair the space station. Next up, we have Egg Engineer. I think that's how you say that. This basically just looks like Besieged, but with some eggs. And if you played Besieged, then you already know what's up. If you don't, or you haven't, then basically in this, you're going to be creating mobile weapons of war to try to destroy towns. And this literally looks just like Besieged. I wouldn't know without playing it more, but if you enjoyed Besieged and you were looking for something else to kind of scratch that itch, this might be worth checking out, although I will say it does kind of look like a carbon copy. Next, we have a super weird simulation game here called Happy's Humble Burger Farm. And this looks like a very twisted take on restaurant ownership, where you are running I want to say dystopian, but it's really just a disturbing hamburger restaurant. I don't really know what else to say about it beyond that. It looks like exactly what it looks like. And if you're into this, if you liked, Five Nights at Freddy's or any of those kind of games, then this is probably a game you're going to want to check out, especially if you're a fan of the simulation genre. Next up, we have another burger simulator, which personally appeals to me a little bit more. This is Godlike Burger. This puts you in the shoes of a crazy chef who's making the best burgers in the universe. So you're running a burger joint in space. This kind of reminds me of Overcooked or games similar to that, in the sense of you're running back and forth, trying to build orders and put them out in places. But this definitely has a little bit of a twist. Obviously, you're running a burger place, but on top of that, it seems like the ingredients for your burgers are the customers themselves. So there's a sort of creepy twist on things here, as you can see in the video. So it looks like you have to run around and harvest your customers and put them into the burgers. But all that said, you're still running a restaurant. You're still cooking up things. I think it has a pretty good simulation aspect with a little bit more action and craziness to it as well. Next up, we have a game that I've mentioned in other videos, which is Timberborne. In Timberborne, you are doing a colony simulation city building style game here, but the twist on it is that humans are gone. And it's beavers that are creating these towns. So you're going to be doing things like managing your water supply and your flow, accounting for potential droughts that come up, building dams, farming, and you're going to be experimenting with vertical architecture as you build your various bases. It looks really interesting. This has made the list for a couple of different tabs, and I'm sure it will continue to do that as we move forward. Next up, we have another game that I've mentioned in other videos. This is Dream Engine's Nomad Cities. This is a survival city game where you build a flying city, but it has a lot of simulation aspects where you are basically trying to create this Factorio-style assembly line and production system where you're harvesting the things that are attacking your town and you're generating them and using them for resources to build and expand your city. It looks really cool, really interesting. I think the art style is really awesome as well, and I'm really excited to get my hands on this and actually play it. You should definitely see a video for this one on the channel in the near future. Next up, we have Distant Kingdoms. I've mentioned this one again, and I wanted to briefly mention it here. There's no video or anything, but this is a simulation game where you are building a city, but you're also managing social aspects, exploration, and adventure gameplay in a fantasy world where there are humans, dwarves, elves, and orcs. So if you're into this, if you've looked at something like Settlers and you've enjoyed those games, I think this might be right up your alley. This is another one I want to get my hands on and play. I'm a little bit disappointed that there's not a video to check out as well, because it could be terrible or awesome. It's a little bit harder to judge without some movement here on the screen, but I'm excited to check this one out. Next up, we have The Commission, another one I mentioned in the strategy video. This one is a crime simulation game. So in this one, you are in charge of a 1920s organized crime syndicate, and this has some grand strategy 4X style gameplay. You're going to be managing your crime families, taking over territory, managing your rackets, and obviously your bribes, political aspects, your various, smuggling, all that kind of good stuff in this game. I think this looks really cool. I like the twist on the 4X genre with this being focused on a crime syndicate, and I think it looks pretty good if you're into these kinds of games. Next up, we have Potion Craft. So Potion Craft, if you like alchemy, if you like creating potions and crafting, then this is definitely a game to check out. It has a very unique kind of paper old manuscript art style to it, and it's all about just using the resources that you collect in order to craft different potions, and you sell them in your shop. So you get to invent recipes for potions, attract customers, haggle with them, all that kind of good stuff in this. I think this looks really cool. This is the kind of game I think I could really get behind, because even though you are using ingredients and stuff, the game isn't necessarily about, it's so focused on the crafting aspect that it doesn't feel like a mandatory part of like a survival game or something. So I think this looks really interesting. It is the potion-based game that I think looks the most appealing, because our next game here is another potion-style game called Alchemy Emporium, and this one doesn't have a video, but it looks kind of similar to the one we just saw in overall concept, where you, again, are running a potion and alchemy shop, and you are crafting various potions, collecting various resources for those potions, and then you're trying to sell those at your shop. This one does look like it could be pretty good as well. It has another kind of distinct and interesting looking art style. I personally think that Potion Craft looks a little bit better, but that might just be because it actually has a video and it still looks really good in motion. But either way, if you like this genre, you've got two different games to pick from. Next, we have Grand Casino Tycoon, which is exactly what it sounds like. This is a tycoon game. I'm sure if you are into these games, then you know exactly what a tycoon game is. This one is set in a casino. So if you've been wanting to play a Tycoon game in a casino. There's a demo out for this one. I always give Tycoon games a chance and then they kind of lose me, but I know plenty of people out there really enjoy these, and this looks like a pretty cool one. I like the aspect of it being at a casino. I haven't really seen too many Tycoon games like this, at least not on like the PC. So I think this is a nice new twist on the genre, and I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this. Next, we have Cosmo's Quick Shop, or Quick Stop. And this is interesting. It's a interstellar gas station management game. I've previously worked at a gas station, so I know all about the regular style of managing a gas station. And this version here looks wacky. It looks insane. It looks pretty interesting. It looks like there's like a car wash here, but it's actually an alien wash. You've got to do janitorial work. You're throwing parties. It looks like there might be lottery tickets and, you know, all kinds of stuff going on here. This looks absolutely insane and wacky. I think this is going to be a lot of fun to play, and it definitely resonates with me on a more personal level, having, you know, previously worked at a gas station. Next up, we have 100 Days Winemaking Simulator, and this has got to be the most gorgeous game on this entire list. This game is absolutely beautiful, and I cannot wait to play this. This is one that I believe has had a demo before, but I've never had the time to check it out. But in this video, you are simulating working at a vineyard, and you are a winemaker. So you're out here trying to, you know, plant the right types of grapes and manage your vineyard in terms of the soil, the weather, the watering, making sure everything is coming out perfect so that you can craft and create the best wines and sell them. Like I said, it's a very beautiful, gorgeous looking game. It's super relaxing, I think. The soundtrack is very good, and it just looks amazing. I don't know anything about wine. I don't drink wine, but I really don't care. This just looks like a really cool game. Next, we have another Tycoon game. This time, it's Festival Tycoon. So here, you are managing a music festival, and this is super cool to me. I've played in several bands throughout my life, including some pretty well-off ones, I guess. And getting to kind of Tycoon manage a music festival is something that I think is really cool. I don't know if it'll really hook me, because I also really love zoos, and a lot of the Zoo Tycoon games haven't managed to keep me playing. But again, if you're into the Tycoon style games, this is sort of a different take on them. So I think this could be a really cool game to play as well. Next, we have Ranch Simulator, the realistic multiplayer agricultural management sandbox, farm, harvest, hunt, and build. Sounds like a commercial ad for some sort of product. This game is pretty straightforward. You own a ranch. It's a pretty bad, cruddy ranch, and you've got to clean it up. You've got to get it into shape, and then you've got to manage it. But it's not just about the like house fixing up and stuff. There's also a lot of animal husbandry in here with, you know, managing your livestock. It looks like there's a lot of other exploration aspects here as well. And this is also a game that you can play co-op with several friends. So I think that brings another interesting aspect to the sort of ranch, fix-em-up simulation genre. Maybe not the ranch genre, but, you know, just having a house that you need to fix up or a castle that you need to fix up. You know what games I'm talking about. So having the online co-op aspect to this, I think, brings a little extra appeal to it, and it's just a different take on like farm simulator, I think, in the sense of, you know, it kind of pulls the scope in. It's not so grand, and you can play with your friends. Next up, we have Winter Survival Simulator. So there are quite a few survival simulation games out there. I picked this one for the list because, one, the graphics look really good. It looks like they're doing a really good job of adding that real like winter specific survival aspect to this game. I think this looks pretty good. I think Out of all the survival simulation games that are out there, this one has a sort of really specific, really unique twist where the whole thing is just about how do you survive in the winter. I think with that honed in target goal, it's going to have a lot more depth and detail in those survival mechanics as opposed to other games which just have you survive across a broad range of different seasons. This kind of reminds me of The Long Dark, but The Long Dark has had a lot of add-ons and expansions and stuff at this point, so it's probably a whole different beast than when I originally checked it out. Next we have Genomic, and man, this is a weird looking game. Man bats and man rats, man crabs and more. So this is a game where you are basically just creating monstrosities. So you extract DNA from animals and you splice the DNA together into embryos, which I think sounds really cool. Like, oh, let me make a spider monkey that's literally part spider and part monkey. But the thing that's really weird is everything that you make has this just awkward Teletubby looking humanoid shape. And that really just throws me off. To an extent, I think it's kind of lazy because I think they just wanted to use this one model and just make some modifications to it. But I also kind of get where they're coming from in the sense of maybe this is just what your company does. But this looks weird. It's definitely a sort of like mad scientist simulation game. It kind of really creeps me out, but I still think that the core mechanic of finding creatures, splicing DNA, and extracting them to create these weird, like I said, monstrosities it's gonna appeal to some people. I think there's games like this that I've enjoyed in the past that just didn't look as weird. Anyway, if you're into this genetic manipulation stuff, definitely give Genomic Monsters a try. Next up, we have 0 Point. So 0 Point is a spaceship simulation style game where you are running a space station. You can play this there's up to 4 starting crew members that you can have in your spaceship. And the goal here that they've talked about is that this is going to be FTL faster than light style gameplay, but from a totally different perspective. So it looks like you get the space station management aspect of the simulation experience here, but there's also going to be some high action, some roguelike gameplay here as well. And if you've ever played FTL Faster Than Light, you know it's basically about managing one crisis, one disaster after another, and trying to come through the other side and continue on your journey for as far as possible. So if that's what this game delivers, I think that's a simulation style game that's going to appeal to certain people that want a little more action, a little more panic, a little more anxiety in their simulation games. Next up, we have Reibots, which is a odd game. It's got a pretty interesting art style here. It's very pastel, very flat colors. And in this game, you are, I don't know what you would call yourself, but what you do is you talk to aliens that are looking for a home. And then you go out and you try to find a planet that kind of matches what they are looking for. And when you get to the planet, you use your robots and your various tools to basically terraform the planets into a habitat that those aliens will like. So you can do different things such as clean up the terrain, but you can also change the climate. So if you have a set of aliens that's looking for a frigid snow planet, you can change the environment and adapt that to those aliens as well. I'm not sure how deep this game gets into the various modifications that you can make to the planets, but it does look like a pretty interesting concept that I haven't really seen before, and I think it's worth checking out, especially if you like this sort of sci-fi genre and that kind of like quest request, go out and mess with planets gameplay. Getting into the last 3 games here, we have Ice Cream Truck. Very creative name. Not really, but it's an interesting looking game. So in this, you manage an ice cream truck, but your ice cream is kind of weird. because your ice cream flavors are various emotions. And so you're going around your ice cream truck and you are giving out ice cream to your different customers, which has influenced their emotions. And you're doing this in order to discover different things, to solve mysteries, and to find out more about the characters. So it definitely looks strange. It looks odd. As you can see here, there's like joy flavor and sorrow flavor. And the different emotions that you put into the characters allow you to get different conversations and different bits of information out of them. It's really strange. I added this to the list because it does have that ice cream simulation experience. There's not many games I've seen out there where you're actually in charge of running an ice cream truck. So I think that's a pretty interesting twist. Although I think this one might be a little left field for a lot of people. Next, we have Railgrade, and this looks super awesome. This is a game about managing and constructing railways to connect different cities. So if you played any of the like railroad style games, then you're probably going to be familiar with most of what this game is going to have to offer. One of the things that I like about it is I think that the graphics in this one are particularly appealing. I think if you zoom in on stuff, the trains and stuff like that look pretty cool. They definitely have a futuristic vibe to them. This isn't a standard train simulator. This is definitely a sort of sci-fi take on everything. And I think this looks like an interesting game to check out if you like either, you know, the railroad type stuff, or if you're into the Factorio style, you know, production assembly line management stuff. You can kind of do that here with the train tracks as well. And the last game on the list here is Cardboard Kings, and I kept this one for last because it's very near and dear to my heart. I used to run a tabletop game shop, and I would love to do so again, and that's what you do in this game. So you open your own game shop, you get to decorate your store, befriend customers, collect magical cards, and try to be the best game shop in town. The graphics in the video, some of these like cutscene style graphics, are a little bit better than what you see in the game, but I don't know. I don't even know if this game looks good. It just looks really appealing to me because, you know, I've run that tabletop game store before, and for any of you out there that visit or attend any of those sort of game shops, I'm sure this has an appeal to you as well. It looks like a big emphasis is placed on selling Magic the Gathering style cards. And so it does look like a lot of aspects of tabletop games are left out of this. I don't really see any board games or other card games, but that still has enough appeal for me that I want to check it out. Looks like we got some interesting references here too with Phantom Mask. So that's going to do it for this video. Let me know if you think I missed a super important, super awesome game on the simulation tab of the festival. Let me know what you think of these games, or if you find a favorite in the comment section below. If you're going to comment, don't forget to like the video as well if you enjoyed it. If you do both those things, it makes YouTube super happy, and I definitely appreciate it. I hope you guys are having fun with whatever indie games you're playing. If you're new here, don't forget to smash that subscribe button for more great indie games coverage here on the channel. I hope that I've helped you find a great new indie game to play, and I will see you on the next video.